Hey everyone, and welcome to another important dev meeting for Battle for Azeroth. I was playing on my shaman the other day, and something happened that made me realize that you've all been doing amazing work for the new expansion. There's some brilliant and groundbreaking ideas on the table, and although the deadline of September 30th is going to be tight, with the hard work you're putting in, I'm certain Battle for Azeroth is going to go down in history as one of the most exciting and content-rich expansions ever.
Hey everyone!
Oh, hey Ian.
Oh, hi Josh. What are you doing giving a presentation for the dev team? That's not your job.
Why are you like a foot taller than you usually are?
Yeah, that's a fair point. Okay everyone, I'm glad you're all here because I've got a pretty exciting announcement to make. We've revealed that the official release date for Battle for Azeroth will be August 14th.
Oh, great. That's great. Is that August 14th, 2018?
Yeah, we're really excited.
Oh, great. That sounds great. That's a bit earlier than we were expecting.
Yeah, it is, but we're so excited about all the great work that you guys have been doing that we just want people to be able to enjoy it as soon as possible. Plus, I just met Belila at the press event.
Oh, wow, that's great. Did you touch it?
Yeah, I did. It was really nice. But he had this strange look in his eyes, like hunger, like he needed feed somehow. So I thought it was probably best if we moved the release date forward a little, just to be safe. And so our children are safe. Is that going to be a problem?
What? No, that's great. Totally understandable. We'll see you on August 14th, 2018.
Okay, great. Well, I'll leave you to your meeting.
Okay, great. Ian, one last thing, real quick. Are you more excited for Warfronts or island expeditions?
Oh man, I love them both, but I can't wait to get into island expeditions, especially.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Okay, great. Well, like I say, if we keep on working hard and believing in ourselves, I think BfA could go down in history as having the best island invasions and mission tables in the history of Warcraft. So, yeah. Go team!
Knowledge is power.
Hello everyone. So our main story this episode is obviously that we now have a release date for the next World of Warcraft expansion, Battle for Azeroth, and that release date is a little bit earlier than any of us expected or dared hope, because Blizzard had previously announced with their pre-orders that the absolute latest they'd be going live would be September the 30th. So I think most people's predictions for the actual launch were around 11:59 PM September the 30th, approximately that sort of ballpark. The most optimistic estimates put it at the very end of August, the same time as Legion, so this is a very welcome surprise, and it means that at the time of writing we have just over 4 months until our new expansion, and that means you now have just 18 weeks to get your cutting edge Argus achievement, or ahead of the curve if you're content being a no skills noob loser your whole life, like me. There is just 126 days to get the rest of those sweet Mage Tower appearances, and you have only 90,720 minutes to finish leveling that Nightborn Mage that you told everyone you were really excited about but has been stuck at level 45 for the last 3 weeks. It also means, incidentally, that the whole Legion expansion will have kept us in WoW for just under 2 years, a couple of months longer than Warlords of Draenor, but with Antorus lasting a full 25 weeks less than WoD's last raid, Hellfire Citadel, which, fair play, gives you an idea of just how much Blizz has given us in Legion, an expansion that I think will be remembered incredibly fondly indeed. But that's for another time, and of course it's not just the full release of Battle for Azeroth that we need to worry about, because if Blizzard keep the same timetable as their last expansion release, that means we are looking at the pre-patch event starting on July the 3rd, which will begin the Burning of Teldrassil scenario, where we finally get to discover just how evil Sylvanas is. Oh no, sorry, she's not even evil though, is she? Because there's no doubt that the Night Elves represent a genuine threat to the Horde by simply existing for tens of thousands of years and totally deserve whatever they've got coming to them. They'll think twice before they go around existing hunting again for the whore, followed by repeatable quests in and around Darkshore, which those recently data mined Night Elf and Forsaken mounts may or may not be connected to. And that's to say nothing about the Siege of Lordaeron, which is surely going to be another pre-patch scenario, and Legion actually had 2 stages to its pre-patch, don't forget. First the demon invasions, and then a little bit later on with the Broken Shore and Demon Hunters. So again, if we go by that time frame, it wouldn't surprise me if on July the 24th, we get to actually play the incredible BfA cinematic and finally get to discover just how many different noses are now canon for Anduin. And of course, with the pre-patch will probably come the new class changes that everyone is really happy about. So you now have just 3,628,800 seconds to enjoy healing in raids before Discipline Priests cover everything in bubbles and you'll never heal anything again. But that's not all, because before any of that, we are going to have to go through a quick scenario to wear out our artifact weapons, which, don't worry, we won't spoil now because we spoiled it like months ago. But whatever, this actual last bit of Legion content will almost certainly be before any pre-patch shenanigans, and maybe those cultists on the Broken Shore are counting down to something again, like they did the launch of 7.3.5 with a cast that is currently due to finish on April the 24th, but who knows? And that's not all, because as part of the release announcement, the dev team also did a press conference as well as some Q&As, which have given us even more information about what we can expect from 8.0, including the fact that Maga Orcs and Dark Iron Dwarves will be the 2 new allied races that will be available to unlock on day 1 of the expansion, with Zandalari Trolls and Kul Tiras humans being available later, once the, let's face it, probably gated, story is complete. Oh, and while we're here, it was also confirmed that yes, those Asmongold models are customization options that player Kul Tiras characters will be able to select, but there's no word on a female option yet. And we learned a little bit about how Warfronts will affect the game world. Now you may remember that we did a video about this a few weeks back, suggesting it would be really cool if one faction could win the Warfront officially, and that there would be changes in the world around it to reflect this. And it turns out we were kind of half right about that. Factions will indeed win Warfronts, and those changes may indeed be reflected in the area. So for example, the Warfront that will be available at launch will be the Arathi Highlands. Only one faction will be able to play that scenario at first. These are PvE scenarios, remember, and they will hold that area and be able to play it for about a week while the opposing faction gathers and hands in resources until they build up enough so they become the faction that gets to play the scenario and hold the area. And at the moment, Blizzard say they are playing with ways to show that occupation in game, like the occupying team have access to world quests and bosses in that area. That may happen, apparently. It's a slightly less committed version of our idea, but I like it, obviously, because, you know, made a video about it. And there will also be a whole rotation of different Warfront locations added throughout the life of the expansion too. It's weird, isn't it? I feel like we're at the stage now where we've been told quite a lot about Warfronts, but I still don't really feel I know anything about them at all. I think we need to see this stuff in action, you know?
But it's not just digital excitement to be had, there's pleasure of the physical sort too, as Blizzard also revealed the new Battle for Azeroth Collector's Edition, which, joy of joys, for the first time will work in sync with your digital pre-purchase. That is to say, if you've already pre-purchased Battle for Azeroth because you couldn't sit idly by while other people ran around as moose-horned cows or rode on gold raptors, but you still want the physical Collector's Edition too, you can buy the box, and then when you enter the game code into your account, it will refund you the cost of your digital pre-purchase in BattleNet Balance. Just make sure you enter that code before 2019. The fact that it has taken this long for Blizzard to implement a system like this so collectors weren't being punished for their fandom by buying the game twice is stupid, obviously, but it's happened. And exactly what goodies can we expect to find in the $100 box? Well, I know I said these were physical pleasures, but I was only half telling the truth because there's no actual physical game disc in here. Just that aforementioned game code, which makes sense, but from a completionist point of view, it does feel odd not having a collector's edition without a physical copy of the game, you know? In fact, there's no disc in this box at all, because the traditional soundtrack CD is now a soundtrack download, and the behind-the-scenes DVD is completely gone. And again, I've got a shelf full of collector's editions containing sealed, unopened soundtrack CDs because, truth be told, we haven't actually bothered owning a CD player for the last 5 years, so I totally understand the logic behind this decision, but just because a download is more useful to me doesn't mean I don't still want the CD. Hell, what I actually want is a fully blown vinyl LP with the soundtrack on, but I get that's probably not likely. There's another more controversial omission here too. Battle for Azeroth is the first World of Warcraft Collector's Edition ever not to include an art book for the expansion, which is a genuine tragedy because nothing says Collector's Edition like an art book, right? In fairness, this is being replaced by a hardback double novella by Christy Golden and Robert Brooks, telling the story of the burning of Teldrassil from both the Horde and Alliance sides. This is likely to be the same dimensions as the usual art book. I say likely because, well, it'll be easier to pack in the box that way, won't it? And will also contain exclusive art, which we've already seen some of, and it's predictably great. So as long as there's a very generous amount of it, then I'm gonna go ahead and say this is just as cool as the art book, even if both the stories will appear online later on. So I'm okay with the novellas, that sounds pretty collectory, and I'm cool with there being no mouse mat too. The Mark of Allegiance, which is a double-sided metal disc, oh, there is a disc in this box, my bad, emblazoned with the Horde and Alliance insignia. And this disc is pretty big and reportedly pretty hefty, and it comes with a display stand too, so, you know, I'm thinking it'll look pretty good right about here. So that's great, I'm totally down with it. Opinions will vary on whether Mark of Allegiance is worth a game disc, a soundtrack CD, a behind-the-scenes DVD, and a mouse mat, and that's fair. I know I'm going to be an excited little kid when mine arrives, so I'll still get my capitalist buying shit rush, and that's what it's all really about.
And so we make our way at last to what today's main story was going to be about, Azerite Armor. And bear in mind, we won't be able to take quite the deep dive on this that we planned since Blizzard did their whole release date launch and collector's edition reveal, like that's somehow more important or interesting than me talking about a barely implemented future game mechanic. But I'd still like to take a look at it because it is something that a lot of people are making their opinions known about, and I don't want to get left out of the opinion making knowing. So here I am. As I'm sure we all know, Azerite Armor is, at its most basic, your replacement for artifact weapons in Battle for Azeroth. You collect AP, no, not artifact power, noob, Azerite power, obviously, to level up your neck piece, which in turn empowers 3 special armor pieces, your helm, shoulders, and chest. Empowering your Heart of Azeroth will unlock 4 levels of traits for your character connected to those armor pieces, and this is good because when we lose artifacts and legendaries, that is a lot of bonus traits that we're going to be losing as we go into the next expansion. Frankly, there is a lot riding on Azerite gear, so people were quick to react when the first single piece was made available for testing on the alpha this week. And this is where the controversy begins, because you see, the thing about this one single piece of gear and the Azerite traits on it is, it's shit. The traits are boring, flat stat increases, or spec specifics there's not really a choice to make. But you know, it's alpha. And actually, I'll tell you something that really surprised me this week, internet, and I don't say this very often, but it was the forums. Because actually, despite all of my assumptions, there was some really insightful discussion going. Oh, look, I'm sorry, I can't even be bothered pretending. It was a shit show, obviously. Ha! What an absolutely terrible idea. How shitting boring can you get? Lazy as shit, Blizzard, you won't get a penny from me. Resubbing to this game was a big mistake. Every single person who has been a decision maker of game design since Wrath of the Lich King should be fired. Just get rid of the whole thing entirely. It's a disgusting trick to keep people subscribed for as long as possible. Stop with this defending. Blizzard proved us multiple times that the complainers and critics are right, and it will happen again. Well, I'm sorry, angry internet man, but buckle up, because I'm about to do some defending. Except actually, it's not defending, is it? Considering I literally just said it's shit. It's actually just rationalization. Because not only do I think the Azerite armor system has the potential to be really great, I think it has the potential to solve nearly all the problems that artifacts had in Legion. So let's look at why people are disappointed so far with this one piece of gear. I think it's because of what this gear is replacing. It's replacing the artifact, it's replacing legendaries, and it's replacing tier set bonuses as well, really. That's a lot of really cool and unique effects to make up, and obviously this piece of gear doesn't do that. There's nothing here which is going to change your style of play or enrich your rotation. And that is where a lot of the frustration I've been seeing is coming from. But what is this gear? This is a green, low, eye-level piece that a starting level 110 character has equipped. In the context of the game, when you pick this item up, you wouldn't even remember its name. You'd be looking to replace it within a couple of hours of play, certainly the first dungeon you ran. So the question you've got to ask yourself is this green item with 4 levels of enhancement on it more interesting and impactful valuable than the very first green you looted in Legion? Because obviously it is, by a massive degree. And if the Azerite dungeon gear you get is that much more interesting than the dungeon gear in Legion, and the Azerite raid gear you get is that much more interesting than raid gear or tier sets or legendaries, then that is some pretty compelling gear and effects right here. Not only is it appropriate that the first green you get has pretty boring traits on it, it's preferable. The last thing you want is for green gear to have traits on it that are so good and so interesting that you have to think about whether they're worth swapping out when you get a new blue in a dungeon. That's a headache the game doesn't need. This is not lazy design, this is good game design. This is your starting gear, there to teach you the system in a very straightforward way and with traits that are boring enough to be replaced at the drop of a hat, or you know, the drop of a robe. A new robe, because it's a robe. Okay, and if Blizzard do have Azerite gear that will have the equivalent of tier set bonuses or legendary effects on them, and why on earth wouldn't they, as this is prescribed gear on set loot tables, you can target and farm it so it automatically avoids all of the bad parts of the Legion legendary drop rate debacle, then this is going to be an outstandingly interesting, varied, and enjoyable system to be a part of. Because also, this is one piece. You'll have 3 of these equipped at once. That's 12 extra traits. But that's not even why I think it's genius. Because, and I haven't heard many people talk about this, but the Heart of Azeroth could solve the AP grind. Let's look at the AP levels on the alpha gear right now. 1, 4, 7, and 10. Now that means that your Heart of Azeroth will have to reach those power levels to unlock those traits. I'm guessing that these are very low levels and you'll unlock them very quickly, and it's fair to assume that higher eye level pieces will need higher AP levels to unlock them. Maybe your first dungeon piece will have 10, 15, 20, 25. Maybe the first raid will have items set at 25, 35, 45, 55. So straight away, AP is always relevant because you are always going to need higher levels of it to unlock the traits on higher levels of gear. That's all pretty obvious. But now, what if, just as conjecture, you could never raise the level of your Heart of Azeroth higher than the highest level of your gear, or the highest level of gear in the game at that time. Every new patch that you hit, you'd have the aim of getting enough Azerite power to unlock the highest trait on gear you'd be getting from the raid, but you'd never be able to prepare for that before the raid hit. So there would be no reason to endlessly grind in advance, which I'm pretty sure cutting edge guilds would be pretty happy about. But then you could still collect Azerite if you wanted to, obviously, because we know that Azerite is going to be a resource that you can hand in to help unlock Warfronts, for example. This, at a stroke, solves the endless AP grind problem, but always keeps AP relevant. And imagine that these 3 different Azerite gear pieces you have are raid pieces and do have effects like tier set bonuses on them or legendaries, because those pieces will exist. And imagine the freedom and opportunities for unique synergies between different items of gear that this system will give you. I'm really glad that this week has made me think about Azerite gear properly, because I've realised that honestly it's going to be really, really cool, as long as this is just an example of a piece of green starter gear, which honestly, I have no reason to doubt, because it is, after all, a green piece of starter gear. Obviously, understandably, people want to see the end game stuff, but at the moment, a lot of the criticisms this one piece of gear has been getting, it's a bit like saying the raid bosses are going to be too easy because you one-shotted a non-elite mob while you were leveling.
There's been a whole lot of other stuff cropping up on the alpha or in data mining this week, which we are going to have to hold off talking about because of Blizzard's incredibly selfish release date announcement, ruining our carefully prepared script, like the new Kul Tiras human face options, or bear animations, or the entire new zone of Vol'dun. I do want to spend a moment in sad reflection at the imminent passing of the remote auction house, which is being retired from the WoW Armory app on 18th of April. A move which is being greeted with reluctant acceptance by the gold-making community. After all, the in-game auction house UI has improved considerably over the last couple of years, to a point where no, it was a shit show, obviously.
During these 10 years, I had so many disappointments, and this is one of the biggest. No wonder you keep losing players. This was one of my favourite things to do while I poop. Can I ask why? Well, that's my toilet breaks ruined. My poop time will now be a sadder place. Same here. Agreed.
Well, I feel like I've learned a lot about the WoW community and playing habits right here, but don't worry. I think we can save the day and help ease the passing of your favorite app by giving you the top 3 other things you can do while you poop. Number 1, watch our videos. Obviously, we're always getting comments by people so angry they seem like they're about to shit. So obviously Taliesin's face and voice is helpful to bowel movements somehow. I don't know. Number 2, read Infinite Jest. It'll keep you going for ages. You can tell your friends you're reading Infinite Jest so they'll know for sure that you're more clever than them, and if you accidentally leave it in the bathroom, no one will steal it. Number 3, just poop. Get it over with quickly so that you can get back to your PC and log into WoW to use the in-game auction house. Wash your hands.
So, release date. I got it right.
You got it right.
August the 14th.
Yes.
Which we were very worried might clash with some quite important life events.
Very important life events. You know how life events tend to happen kind of in the summer, spring,
But the good news is we can still get married because it doesn't clash with that, which is really good. We can still go on our guild holiday.
Yeah. Which is more important than
probably
the other
much
stuff,
more
to be
important than that.
honest.
Yeah. Well, that's about it. Actually, it doesn't clash with anything else.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
It does clash with life, you know, and like work and stuff. But
no,
you know,
it doesn't.
That, you
No,
know,
no,
you can
no,
just,
no.
you know,
WoW never clashes with life. Life sometimes clashes with WoW.
Put that on a t-shirt.
That's how it works. It's quite a long t-shirt, isn't it?
Life sometimes clashes with blah, 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 blah. I forgot it
That is
already.
so snappy. That's your best design yet. I thought the
Thank
knowledge
you.
of power, knowledge or power. Which would you prefer?
Knowledge
Wow.
or power.
Yeah. Oh, great. I'm spent. I'm a spent force. Not saying we would have cancelled the wedding if it had clashed.
Yeah,
but
you know, it would have.
it would have spoiled the wedding.
Yeah, it would have
Everyone would
ruined
have been
everything.
everyone would have been on edge. None of our friends would have come.
No. No,
And everyone were like, I can't make it.
it's-
Can't make the. Oh.
Man.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I've got this thing. And they'll know that we know what the thing is.
Yeah.
It'd be so awkward.
Yeah. And then we just see everyone popping up on Battle.net.
Except
like,
we wouldn't. Because we'd be getting married.
Anyway, we don't have to worry about any of that.
It would have been the worst day of my life.
It would, yeah.
If you did like this episode, don't thank us. Thank our patrons who give their actual, real life money to make this channel happen, guys. Without you, we wouldn't get any episodes out ever at all.
At all.
Probably.
At all.
But you are there, so we do.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah.
If you didn't like it, downvote the shit out of it. And remember, her name is.
Jari. I wish it was. Oh
Me
my
too.
god. I know.
I wish it was too. Maybe if I was a mythic raider.
I think everyone does.
Would you remember when we saw her at BlizzCon? But she was like that far away.
Yeah.
And she obviously didn't know who we were, so we didn't say hello.
No.
But we
'cause
probably
we're
should have done.
Nerds.
And we were like, should we touch her? Should we touch her? Just steal a lock of her hair.
It's weird.
I know, but now we've got that Jari that we grew in a vat, so you're not complaining then, were you? Jari, we haven't got any of you in a vat. We never stole any of your hair. That wasn't us, that was someone else. I'm going to cut all of this.
Yeah.
Cut it all.
Good. It's too weird.
No. My name's Taliesin.
And I'm Evitel.
And from both of us, until next time,
Bye.
cheerio.